Okay guys, it's been a long time. And this is a very deep video. So I hope you got some time to sit down and listen. It's really important to anyone considering moving to Korea. Especially as a teacher or really any position at all. So I've never really like hidden who I was. I've always been mostly in front of the camera for probably quite a good portion of my time here. I am a obese person. And let me tell you something. No one is going to tell you when you're interviewing, but that is such a difficult thing in Korea to be. You will not find clothes. If you do find clothes, they're pretty expensive and they really are not great quality. I rarely ever found anything truly plus size. Like, I'm not talking like US size 18. I'm talking about like being a US size 20 or 24 and trying to find clothes in Korea where everybody is fairly thin, even though I have seen some more plus size people and I did find a cute stores, but I usually had to go pretty far distance to get them. Mostly in Seoul, and luckily I actually had some great friends that really connected me with a couple stores, which is great, but I also still, even though they were plus size, they didn't really have much of my size. Which is crazy, because like their ideal plus size is way different than what a lot of the world views as plus size. And I'm not going to get into the topic about like the health aspect of this, like image type stuff. That's not really what I'm about. I'm not going to talk about that. Maybe at some point, if it fits whatever I'm doing. What I am going to talk about, though, is how I got treated because of how I looked. I generally got treated a lot better than some people just because I'm white. There were some people that would tell me horror stories about being anyone of any other ethnicity, whether they looked part Asian or black or any other ethnicity. And then there were some that were treated like some sort of exotic zoo animal. Like, there are a lot of stories I could tell about that, but that's not my story. I don't feel comfortable sharing those because that's not what I experienced. But what I did experience is pretty much all the time, anything that was slightly off in my performance, I would get nitpicked way more than anyone else. I would get called out for any sort of appearance thing. Quite frequently, they like to tell me I would smell, which, okay, that is a thing in Korea. Like, they don't use, like, I don't know why they say they don't smell, because they do. And they don't use deodorant as much. Like, it's becoming a thing, but not as much. And I'm like, I was doing everything to try to help with it, and it was honestly one of the weirdest and worst experiences I ever had, to be told like that in a meeting. And I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I wear perfume? I'm like, I mean, I have them saying like, oh, do you shower? I'm like, of course I shower. I was showering twice a day, and they were still complaining. And I was like, okay, well, obviously being plus size for one, and being American, I obviously have a very different smell than the average person. There's only so much I can do about that. And yeah, it came up multiple times, and it's a thing. I don't know why it's a thing, but it's a thing. And I even talked about it with other fellow foreign teachers that I had, and like even asked them honestly, like, is there a smell? Because I'm like, I've never had this complaint ever in my life. Anywhere in the US. And they were like, no. So that is the thing. That does happen. That was one thing. And I've also definitely dealt with a lot of people calling me lazy, or that was usually the big one. I really shouldn't repeat some of the other words they would say about me being foreign and, well, fat. They would say a lot of cruel things. That was one of the few words I learned to recognize in Korean very quickly, and I heard it a lot. Usually it was older, like, women that would make those kind of comments. I even had one push me on a bus once and tell me to get out of the way in very rude terms, and other people, like other older people on the bus, were telling her to like leave me alone. So yeah, that was a lot. And no one's going to tell you that coming in as a foreigner, like especially if you're bigger, no one's going to tell you that in your interview. But it's a real thing, and it will slowly eat away at your self-confidence, and that definitely happened. And it was kind of hard going out places. I really kind of avoided going out, like, unless I was in a very like youthful area. My favorite area I was ever in was Incheon, and that area was amazing. Well, in particularly Songdo. So Songdo was like my favorite place I lived, and honestly, once I left that school, I regretted it. Because I didn't realize how good it really was until I wasn't there and went through like 2 other schools before I left. Because, well, that happens unfortunately sometimes. Which is the other thing I want to talk about, is that when you're doing interviews for these schools, they will try to make it sound amazing. The greater it sounds, the worse it is. I've never gone through an interview where like they don't make it sound like heaven. Like, it's not. Most of those places are horrible and make you question everything that you do. Like, I'm like, why am I here? What am I doing? What is this purpose? Other than to be used basically as an indentured servant. And I know that's a strong term, but that's really pretty close to what it is. You make very little. Sure, they give you housing, but you will work way more than what they would say you will work in your contract. You will not get paid for that a lot of the time. Sometimes they do pay you, but it won't be the full amount. I had that happen more than once. It's technically not legal, but because we're foreigners, they don't expect us to actually know the laws and be able to enforce them. So that's a lot. Like, my last job, there was 1 week I was probably pushing 50 hours, maybe close to 60. I started losing track counting. Like, I know there was some days where I got there at like 7 in the morning and I didn't leave until 10:30 at night. I didn't get home till 11 when I was at that job, and I was getting so exhausted. And then at the end of it, when we talked about it with our manager, like the manager that knew the most English, talked to us and said like, hey, this is how much overtime they're willing to give us. And all the other foreign teachers, we just sat there and looked at each other. I'm like, what? You're only gonna give us like 5 hours of overtime? We probably worked 10 plus hours. Like, I probably had the most, because I was struggling. I was new to the job, and we had a big event coming up, and I was struggling prepping for that event. And some of it, yes, was me. I struggled with certain things in Korea, and like, look, I never gave up on it. I kept trying and trying and trying, but sometimes trying is not good enough in Korea. So by the end of it, I found out I was not going to get paid my full overtime, and okay, well, I started, at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to leave. Like, I'm not just going to change jobs at this point. I'm tired of changing cities, changing schools. I decided to leave Korea. And honestly, when I made that decision, those weeks after were hell. I really got bullied by my school. They did things that were definitely illegal. I will not name the school because I can't, because of the laws. Like, they'll call it defamation, but I have a lot of proof of what happened. But I don't feel like sharing that on here. Basically, they were trying to gaslight me, manipulate me, anything to keep me at my job. And the big thing kind of came when I had a male boss tell me that if I didn't come back from the States, now given this is ridiculous, I know this is ridiculous, but in that moment, it was terrifying that they even thought talking like this was okay, that he would get on a plane and force me back to Korea. I know that sounds ridiculous, but in that moment, like, I'm like, what the? I knew it wasn't a real threat, but it was still terrifying that they would make that kind of threat. They were threatening to sue me, anything to keep me in Korea. In theory, they could sue you, but also I had plenty of proof that I didn't get paid for a lot of overtime, so I could have countered them. But I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to go home. It was either I was going to go home or something was going to happen that was going to make me have to go home, because I was very close to losing it. I did not tell a lot of my friends how bad it was for me at the time. I know if any of you guys are watching this, it has nothing to do with you guys. I was not comfortable talking about everything. I was terrified of what my school would do, for one, and I was really at one of my lowest points I've ever been. Like, I can think of only one other point in my life I was that low. So it's a heavy topic, and unfortunately there's not enough support for that. I mean, unless you're near soul, there's really not much mental health aspect, like support or anything, really. I was also terrified if I did go to a doctor and got some sort of medication to help me, I was scared it was going to get me, like, next time I did my visa, I wouldn't get it, because that's something that they ask you about when you're applying for your visa, when you're first coming over. So I'm like, if I go on this medication, does that cause a problem for me? And it's a process, and it's sad that that's kind of something you have to think about, is you rather suffer than actually get treatment, because you don't want to end up having to not be able to stay. And there's so much more, like, I want to talk about, but I don't know how to put it all into words that are appropriate for this platform, because there were a lot of things that did happen or could have happened, but thankfully didn't. The other thing I want to say is that homesickness is so real. Those first 6 months are terrible. Then it gets easier, and then, like, at the end I was doing quite well. Like, I was used to the culture. Like, I didn't really have any major issues with that aspect. But those first 6 months, I'm like, what did I do? Why did I do this to myself? Like, this is not for me. And I managed to push through to exactly 2 years, pretty much to date, that I left. I was like, okay, well, this is something. I also, like, when I first arrived, it was during COVID. That was such a terrible choice. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course, I also had my dog with me. And you guys know I got a second dog who's over here currently. Yeah, so that also kind of complicated things, but also made things tolerable at the same point. If I hadn't had those 2 dogs, I think I would have done something I would have regretted for the rest of my life, because they were everything to me. And I'm like, every time I thought about, oh my god, I should just get on a plane and just disappear, or find other means to disappear, that I'm like, okay, I can't just do that without some planning. I have to get these 2 dogs back home. Like, I'm not gonna just abandon my dogs. So I got them home. That was a huge expense. My pug also got lost in New York, and I am exhausted, for one, hyper emotional at this point, stressed out, and trying to text people in New York that are trying to find my dog because I got false information that I actually needed a broker to get him out of customs because I wasn't with him, and I had no idea. Like, there wasn't anything about on the website talking about this. I was like, oh my god. It was so expensive. Like, I'm talking $4,000 in the end, I think. Or, no, yeah. It was a lot, and I couldn't have done it without the support of my family. I am forever grateful that they did that for me, because I would have felt horrible abandoning my dog. Especially my pug. He has a lot of history. He has a lot of issues. I still love him, but there's a lot of trauma there. And I've talked briefly about this, and it might be a private video now about my previous relationship when I got him, and before I started the channel. Maybe that needs to be a video I actually redo and post, because I think it's an important video to have out. So yeah, there was a lot that happened. I was not okay. I was not doing well health-wise either. Like, at all. I was really, really not doing well. And unfortunately, there was a little bit of the language barrier, which is, like, in bigger cities, you can manage with, like, very basic Korean and their limited English. Like, we could manage, but it wasn't great. But I got through most of it, except for the health field. This is where I had the biggest problems, and this is something I really hadn't thought would be an issue, is that I have a thyroid issue. Like, I have hypothyroidism. So I require medications to regulate that, and that controls so much of everything, and kind of included the increased jump I had with anxiety and depression and everything else that was going on mentally with me towards the end. Because what had happened is, when they had gotten me my medication, it did not work the same as the US medicine I had. Even though they're the same product, something was different. I don't quite know the science behind it, but when I returned, my doctor, like, I went back to my same primary doctor, and he's like, have you even been taking your medications? I'm like, yeah. He said, because my thyroid was basically not functioning. I was like, oh. Well, that explains a lot. And yeah, that thyroid is a big thing. It will mess you up in so many ways. And I just started to get my thyroid back in order. And that was almost 2 years ago. Like, this December will be 2 years that I've come back. And I'm just now kind of at a stable point where we don't have to ingest medications anymore. I had to add a medication because of how bad it was. And thankfully I'm doing a lot better with that. But that is a major thing. If you are going with any sort of health conditions, find a way to have that, like, officially translated to Korean in some way. Because even doctors that spoke English, there was obviously some sort of communication error that happened for me. Like, because my experience wasn't typical. Like, people talk about how amazing Korean medical service was, but that's just not what my experience was. Like, I also went to a dentist because I broke a tooth, and I had to have a root canal, and the root canal did not succeed. When I came back to the States, it was infected. We had to pull the tooth, and I just finished fixing that tooth. Like, it was exhausting. Everything that kind of happened, and I am grateful for the experience. I do not regret going to Korea in a lot of ways. I don't think I would be the same person I am now if I hadn't gone. Because one thing I learned is how to hold my ground. Because Korean bosses will push and push and push and push. And I kept caving and caving and caving. So what happens if you keep bending this way? You're eventually going to break. And I did. And so when I came back to the States and I started working again, I didn't let that happen again. If an employer pushed me, I spoke up. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, that's too much. And you know what? Maybe it made me not such a great employee. And some companies might see it that way. But it's not about your okay, productivity. Sorry, I apparently can't remember English today. And if your mental health is being tanked because you're stressed out from work, it's not worth it. There is no amount of money that's worth it to be on so many medications that you don't even know what they all are, because you have like so many things going on with you in your mind, in your hormones and all this stuff, because your system is in overdrive. And I've learned a ton about this through different types of doctors. Oddly enough, the most I learned was actually from my chiropractor and my physical therapist about this kind of stuff, and how it was kind of relating to, despite doing everything I was supposed to, I wasn't losing the weight. Like, my nervous system was pretty much in survival mode all the time. Because I was worried about my money. I was worried about my dogs. I was worried about work. I was just constantly worried. Like, I worried about my family because they were having health issues when I left. And that's just something they don't understand in Korea. Like, your bosses don't understand that sometimes you need a break. They will keep giving you more work. And most of the time, I love teaching. I love the kids. Before I went to Korea, I did it for 10 years. Now I took a break when I came back because how much it had messed me up towards the end. And then now I'm back teaching again. Given I'm working with younger kids right now, that's another goal I have, is to kind of find a way to get into public school system. So right now I'm working with preschoolers. That's just what I like to do. And it's something I keep going back to. And the fact that it took that joy away from me is devastating. And once I got it back, and once I was back in it, I hadn't realized how much I missed it. And how much Korea took from me in that aspect. But I also feel like I was able to take things back, too. I learned to enforce a lot of different things. It really enforced my boundary skills. It made me kind of also understand myself a lot better and realize certain things I definitely need to work on, just as a person. And also made me realize there were some things that I didn't get enough support even here in the States with. And I was like, okay, this is definitely a thing. I don't know what I'm going to do with this information, but I realized a lot. It's hard living on your own in a country you don't know the language, you're by yourself, and it changes your worldviews. And I became a lot more empathetic towards all people, understanding the struggles of being indebted to people, into being at that poverty level, being at that, because really I was, and I'm still kind of coming out of it. I really dug myself a deep hole in Korea. I'll talk about that in a minute. And kind of understanding the experience of a lot of immigrants. Like, it really made me a lot more empathetic to all of that. Now, given I'm not going to talk about political views on here, I don't need to add that to my channel, but it is something that actually shifted my beliefs a lot and made me see things in a different way. So, yeah, the financial aspect. So your school covers your housing, which is great. But you still have utilities, and you still have food. Food was usually the biggest issue because, well, I wasn't very good at cooking at home when it was just me. Like, I end up wasting a lot of food, and if I ate out, then I'd worry about gaining more weight because it's more calories, and then I had to worry about spending too much. That was a constant battle, and I still had my US credit cards, right? So I would have to transfer money back to that bank account to pay my US cards, but there was always about a day or 2 day delay. So what would happen is I did not do it early enough, or my paycheck was not, because you only got paid once a month, came before my credit card did, I couldn't pay, and I couldn't change my pay dates because I wasn't in the States. Like, I couldn't call them and didn't try to work it out with the credit card company. So by the end, I was almost 10 grand in debt. Because it was all interest. I couldn't get enough money over and live to pay it all off, and that killed me in the end. I'm just starting to recover financially after 2 years. And I still have a ways to go with it. That's a constant battle and will continue to be a battle because I just didn't make good enough choices with my money, and I was really not prepared in that aspect for living on my own. And yeah, that's a real thing. They definitely kind of failed a lot of kids coming out of high school, is they do not teach you proper financial care in the actual realities of living. Like, they tell, at least when I was in school, I don't know if this is still a thing, it probably is, like, they really pushed college hard. Like, oh, get this good paying job, and then when you get this good paying job, then you have all this money. But in reality, that doesn't always happen. Like, I have a degree. I'm not using that degree. I mean, I should be, but I tried working in that field, and honestly, it does not pay well at all. Like, I don't know where they thought we were supposed to get all this good money. And so I tried going to South Korea, and ooh, did that blow up. If you're gonna go, make sure you have a lot of savings. Like, I would say probably close to 10 grand in savings. I know some estimates will say like 2 grand, but no, go with 10 grand. Because look, there is bound to be hiccups. That first month you don't get paid. That's initially what got me in trouble with my credit cards. Is because you still need food. And other basic things, like you can't survive on nothing. I mean, I was basically just eating rice and chicken for most of the month, a lot of the time, because I'm like, I can't afford anything else. Like, that's not okay. I shouldn't be living on ramen, rice, and chicken and eggs. And unfortunately, that was what my dogs lived on too. Like, it was bad. So really be conscious with your money. If you're going to do it, just be aware there's a lot people don't tell you. Any school that says, like, seems too good to be true is. And make sure you read those contracts, every last line, and double read it. If you have an option to have a family member or someone else you trust look at the document with you, and someone may catch something you don't that is very questionable. Like, do not get yourself in a situation where you, like I was in, where I was basically being treated like I was an indentured servant, and I had to do everything they said, and I didn't have any choice. Don't do that to yourself. I can't talk about what other countries are like, but I would definitely think twice about going to Korea. If I could do it again, I would have gone to a different country, and just visited Korea, because really what kind of happened is all this negative experiences I had built up where I don't enjoy the things I used to like about Korea. Like, I don't watch Korean dramas anymore. I don't listen to Korean music. I mean, I eat Korean food once in a while. But it kind of sucked that away from me. And really, like, did a lot of, like, disillusionment, if I can, when it came to Korea. And I think that's really important to know, that the higher the expectations you have going in, and the more you know about Korea, honestly, I think the more you're going to get let down. And if you were an introvert or anything like that, or being in Korea is going to be hard, because you want to be by yourself, but then the longer you're by yourself, the harder it is to adjust. Look, I'm fairly introverted, and I struggled with that, because you need to make friends, like, especially outside of work, because the thing is, coworkers are coworkers. They're not always your friend. Because I definitely had things that I told to people in private that were management would bring up later. I had that happen a couple of times, and I didn't always bring it up because I don't know who it was, but it's a thing. So really be careful who you trust. Be careful with those contracts, and definitely be financially secure before you do that move. It is not going to fix anything for you. It will not make you happy. It will not help you just shoot up financially. I tried that. My finances were like about here. Like, I wasn't bad, but then it went like way down here by the time I left Korea. And I know I sound terribly negative about the experience, and there's a lot of things I do think is negative, but I am still grateful. I am lucky that I got to do this experience. And if you do choose to go to Korea, like, just know it may not be all you expected, and kind of when you hit that limit, maybe save this video and know you're not alone in that experience. And I think everyone has different ways they experience what I experience, and just different levels of it. Like, everyone experiences something. Just mine were a lot. Hi, buddy. You come to see me? They are doing quite well now. Come here, buddy. Come on. Want to be in the video? Come here. Come here. Let's show them how you look. See, he's doing a lot better. He's happy. Oh, did you just belch on the camera? Thank you. He's happy. He likes being in America. He likes his big yard. And he's obviously getting a lot more well fed. Yeah. We feed you well here, don't we? Oh, thank you. Alright, I'm gonna put you down. This little thing right here is the best thing I got out of Korea. Because he is the sweetest little boy. And maybe one day I'll talk about his story, because it's interesting. There you go. Down you go, Liddy. And he still does most of his commands in Korean, because that's what I taught him. Because, well, if something were to happen, people are going to speak Korean to him, and I want him to respond to them. He still does it in English eventually, like if he sees my other dog do it, but well, thank you for kind of staying through this video, and if you have any questions, please post them in the comments, and I will definitely respond to any questions about Korea or this experience. I know I rambled a little bit here and there, but as you guys know, I don't script my videos. Like, whatever I say comes out of my mouth. Whatever sort of hiccups I have, they happen. I don't edit them out. Like, I could, but that's really not what I've done with my channel. I've always been very authentic with how I present myself, and sometimes that's not perfect, and that's okay. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope you stick around for future videos. Maybe if there's specific topics in Korea you guys have, I can discuss them. Because if like trying to discuss all of my experience in Korea was hard. But I think I got the core elements, so it's like if there's anything you want to know about, I'm sure I can figure it out. And someone's trying to dig a hole back to Korea. Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate the views or the comments or just about anything. I hope you'll stick around for the next video. Bye!